Welcome back to the Legal Brief, the show where we crush the various legal myths and misinformation surrounding various areas of the gun world. I'm your host, Adam Kraut, and today we're taking a peek at some proposed red flag laws in Pennsylvania. SB Tactical, the originator of the pistol stabilizing brace, set the bar for innovation and product development in the PDW pistol category. From the insanely popular SB-M4 to the adjustable SB-A3 and even kits for pump-action firearms, SB Tactical braces are available for a wide variety of firearm platforms in fixed, adjustable, and side-folding models. To get 15% off your legally transported and carried pistol braces, use the code TGC15 over at sb-tactical.com. First up is Senate Bill 90, which is similar to a bill introduced 2 years ago by Representative Stevens and would create extreme risk protection orders. The language in this one differs from other states that have passed these types of bills. The petition for the order has to set forth facts showing that a person is a danger to themselves or others, which is normal, but if that's shown, an interim order is issued, good for 10 days if issued by a court, or at the end of the next business day the court deems itself available if issued by a hearing officer. Now, that would only occur if the court were not available to issue that order in the first place. Unlike other states, this bill seems to have sped up the timeline a person's entitled to a hearing, that being 10 days rather than the 14 we had been seeing. If the order is extended during the hearing, it's for a period between 3 months and 1 year, and is renewable at the expiration of the effective period up to 2 different times. Those affected by an ERPO can submit one written request for a termination hearing where they have to show by clear and convincing evidence that they do not pose a threat to themselves or others. Now, remember, when it comes to evidentiary standards, clear and convincing is the middle, above a preponderance of the evidence, but below reasonable doubt. And for those wondering what happens to people who have guns if an ERPO is put into place against them, this bill allows for them to be surrendered to the sheriff or a licensed dealer. They were even so kind as to mandate that sheriffs could transport those firearms to the dealer at no additional charge. Once an order expires or is terminated, the bill requires that the firearms be returned to the person no later than at the end of business the next day. Lastly, the bill also does create penalties for those who falsely accuse others. Penalties include reasonable attorney's fees, cost of storage, and other expenses incurred because of the false report. However, it's worth noting that in order for that penalty to apply, the court has to determine the person acted in bad faith for the purpose of harassing. I bet you can guess how many times that's actually going to happen. So, really the main differences are the timeline for a hearing, length of duration of the order, number of times it can be renewed, storage ability, and penalties for false reports. The House has a similar bill, HB 1075, which is almost identical to SB 90. This one was introduced last session and has been reintroduced this year. SB 293 is a different version of ERPOs. Since this one more closely mirrors others that have been implemented across the country, we won't get too deep into the weeds on this one. Some of the bigger differences from this one and SB 90, which we just covered, include a 14-day timeline for a hearing rather than 10, renewal of an order is for a period of 1 year, and no ability for a dealer to hold your firearms. Last up is House Bill 1028, which deals with firearms restraining orders, and that's exactly what it sounds like. A petition could be filed in court that, if granted, would prohibit a person from possessing or acquiring firearms and ammunition for up to 1 year. Unlike some of the other proposed bills, there's no limitations to the number of extensions that can be granted. Really, this is just a different way of saying ERPO or red flag law. And perhaps that's the point, to make it sound less dangerous. If you're a Pennsylvanian, I'd encourage you to get involved. Our governor has shown that he's openly hostile to firearms rights, and if any one of these bills makes it to his desk, you can rest assured he's going to sign them. And with some of these bills being introduced by Republicans, all bets are off as to who might end up voting for them. That's it for this episode. If you learned anything from the show, help us out, hit that like button, make sure you share it around with your friends. Don't forget to get subscribed if you enjoyed the video, consider supporting us via the links down in the video description. And as always, thanks for watching. Welcome back to the Legal Brief, the show where we crush the various legal myths and misinformation surrounding various areas of the gun world. I'm your host, Adam Kraut, and today we're taking a peek at some proposed red flag laws in Pennsylvania. What a mess. Yeah, use that as the intro. I'm your host, Adam Kraut, and today we're taking a peek at some I saw you like mouthing away over there. Yeah, PlayStation. Yeah. Crash Bandicoot. We need a PlayStation now, and Crash Bandicoot.
Yep, it's over, but don't worry, you can click on the video up top to watch last week's show, and the one below that is the one that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Check them out and let me know what you think.